Hey, how's it going? I've been working on a few more Basalt building flying machines, and today I'm going to show you how to build up one that automatically makes a under lava 4x3 basalt tunnel. And so step 1 is to gather all of your materials, and the only real thing to point out is those 2 cobblestone could be pretty much any other movable block. And if you want to build this with more honey than slime, here's the configuration you could go with. And just the final thing to mention with materials is here's some other stuff you might want to have. The buttons are just for launching the machine once we build it, the pickaxe and blocks are just for mining and maneuvering around, and the fire resistance will be really helpful since we're going to be around a lot of lava. And for step 2, we need to find our location of where the tunnel could go and where we could actually build up our flying machine. So for the tunnel, you probably already have a planned location of where you want it to go, but pretty much you just want a wide open lava pool with enough area to go downwards so the tunnel doesn't hit the floor at all, and the further this lava goes, the further the tunnel will go. And to make sure that our tunnel has enough room going downwards, there's 2 things we could do. So the first thing is just that we don't want to build this in a basalt deltas biome at all, because the lava lakes there have these spikes which stick up and make it almost impossible to have any flying machines. And if you have a lava lake like this one, you should be fine, but if you want to double check, what you could do is find an area of land that you could actually dig down below the lava surface, and then once you do that, you can come down here and place in 2 pistons, and if you do that, you can see through these pistons a little bit to see how deep it is, and for it to be good, you just need a depth of 7 lava blocks. And the next location is where we could actually build up the machine itself. So obviously it's going to be built up at either end of whatever tunnel we want to build, but now we need to figure out how to actually get it built up below this lava surface. And so there's 3 different ways to do that. Way number 1 is just to go swim underneath the lava and just to build it all completely under there. The pros are that you can pretty much build it anywhere, but the cons are it's going to be pretty hard to see what you're doing, and it might get pretty frustrating. Way number 2 is just to build up a big cube of blocks, and then just to hollow it out and build the machine up in there. So the pros of this one is that you could pretty much do it anywhere and you could even see what you're doing, but the cons are that you're either going to need to get in the lava to place on the blocks still, or you're going to need to use a bunch of gravel and it might just take a decent amount of time. And now the third way to do it is just to build it up into the terrain, and so the pros of this one is it's pretty quick, but the cons are if you don't have any good terrain at the end of your tunnel, you just can't do it. And so here's how you get started building with the 3 options. So for the one where you just drink the potion and swim under the lava, you're pretty much ready to go. Just make sure that you have enough room to actually build up the machine. And for the way where you build it up into the terrain, just get it as close as you can to the lava pool, because we're going to have to remove all these blocks for the flying machine to actually fly out into the pool. And other than that, just dig out a space to actually build it up in, and it's just going to be 5 blocks by 10 blocks. And then this is the direction it's going to fly, in that direction. And the final thing is that the depth of this should be 7 blocks from the surface of the lava, so you can see that's the surface, and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you're doing it the way where you place down a whole bunch of blocks to actually build it up inside, start off just by building up this perimeter on the surface of the lava, so it's going to fly in that direction, and so this dimension going on that axis is 9 blocks on the outside, 7 blocks on the inside, and this other dimension is 14 blocks on the outside, and 12 blocks on the inside. And now we need to fill the space in, so there's 2 ways to do that. The first thing is just to place in some sand, and to fill up all the columns until you get to a point like this. Then you would just want to go over and fill in the next, and just fill in this entire area just by doing that. And the other method is just to drink fire resistance and just to go under and place in the blocks yourself. With the fire resistance you'll be able to see a little bit better too. And one other thing to mention is the sand has a little bit of a problem, where if there's soul sand at the bottom of the lava lake, which we actually have right here, then it will break the sand. So what you might need to do is just go swim down with fire resistance and place down a block, and then you could fill sand on top of the block without it breaking. But pretty much just get this whole space filled from the surface of the lava all the way down to the floor, or if it's really deep down you pretty much just need to get 8 blocks below the surface. But our next step is actually to remove all the sand and hollow out everything except for these wall blocks. We want to keep those, and we're also going to dig this down 7 blocks, so we already did our first, there's the second, and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and 7th, so we want to get this all down to that much, so it ends up looking like this. And we could finally start to place down the actual blocks of our flying machine. So I placed down this arrow just so you could see which direction it's going to end up flying in while we're building. And so the way that I'm building it in here is going to be the same of whether you build this cube or whether you're building it in the actual terrain. And if you're building this just by swimming up in the lava, I'll show you what to do in just a couple of seconds. But for now, go to the back of the build and place in 4 soul soil so it's 1 block from the floor and it's centered on this wall. From there, we're going to go diagonal up into these 2 corners to create this little smile, and then above it goes 4 blue ice, and now we do an opposite smile that goes above the blue ice like this, and we have 4 more blue ice to place in, 2 at a diagonal like this, then this is just a temporary block so we can place blue ice on top, and the last blue ice goes there. So to check everything, this should be 1 block away from the floor, 2 blocks away from the wall, and this gap right here should line up exactly with the top surface of the lava. So for the people to swing through the lava, you want this gap to be lined up with the top surface, or pretty much you should have these 2 blue ice sticking up above the lava. And next we're going to add in some of our honey and slime. So we're going to start off by making a little L to connect these 3 blocks, and we're going to do the same thing with slime on the other side. So it doesn't matter which one of these is honey or slime, you just want to make sure that it's not all slime or all honey. And our next section goes like this. It's just 6 blocks in this little rocket ship looking thing, and it doesn't matter if this is honey or slime because it doesn't interfere with this below it at all. You just want to make sure that whatever is on this side is the opposite of whatever is on that side. So it should look something like this. And this next segment you could use either honey or slime, but it just goes like this. So if you chose the honey materials at the beginning, those blocks would just be honey instead. But that's it for our first 5 modules, and now we need 5 sticky pistons to drag all of these. And to do that, I'm going to go right here and build up a 2 wide column, so just like this, and we're going to tower that all the way up until we reach this slime. I'm just going to place down 1 more block. That's what our piston is going to go on top of, so look as far as you can into this corner and place down your sticky piston so the face of it should be pointing into that slime. And now that piston's all ready to go to drag this whole segment, so I'm just going to go down 2 blocks, place in our next one, and I'm going to place in our next one to drag this segment. We're going to go down another 2 blocks and place in our last one. So pretty much you want to get these 3 pistons all facing into these blocks. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but we don't need this piston since this whole module is already getting dragged. So I'm just going to build up that 2 wide column, but we're only going to this height. We go down 2, place in our other one, and we're all done with those pistons now. And I'm going to place in more of our slime, so I'm going to go up against the wall with these pistons. I'm going to build up 2 with just temporary blocks, and then I'm going to build up with slime going all the way up until we're flush with the top of the build. So then we could remove those 2 temporary blocks, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. And we're going up to the same height as well, even though we don't have this piston. And with those slime blocks in, we need to place down some observers now to power these pistons. So I'm just going to build up a column here, and I'm going to build this all the way up to our top piston, so we get to this height. So there we're facing our top piston. I'm going to face way into this corner, place down our observers so the face is pointing like that, and the dot is pointing into the slime block. And I'm going to go down 2, and do the same thing, down 2, and the same thing. And we should end up with our 3 observers like this. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but this time we only need to place in 2 observers. And there it is with all of its observers. So we're going to add in some more of our pistons, so it's going to go right here on top of this observer, facing into this slime block. And it's going to be the same on the other side, but we just need to place down a temporary block, so we can then go around and place our piston, and then we can remove it. And in between these 2 sticky pistons we just placed in, we're going to make this line of slime blocks. And then we have 2 more observers, so we're going to place down a temporary block and a temporary block. Then we're going to go around on this side and place in our observer, so the arrow is pointing into that slime block. We can remove this then, and we're going to do the same on the other side, just like this, and then we can remove that temporary block. And we're pretty much done with the machine. We just need to add in the actual flying mechanism. So go on either of these 2 spots, it doesn't matter, and place in a sticky piston facing like that. And this slime should be centered in the machine, so centered with those 2 blue ice pretty much. Then we're going to go around the back and place in our other sticky piston. And now we just need to have an observer for both of these pistons right behind it, so right in these 2 locations, pointing downwards to power them. So doing that is kind of tricky. I'll place down a temporary block like this, I guess, and make a little scaffolding to place down the observer. So we're going way down into this corner, so it faces downwards like that. We could remove this scaffolding then, and we need to do it on this side as well. So I guess we could place in a temporary block here maybe, break this, place in the observer, and they're all ready to go. And that's the flying machine fully completed, but as you can see, it's probably not really able to fly yet. So you pretty much just need to remove this wall here, but it's actually quite a bit trickier than I thought. But before we do that tricky one, if you built it in the natural terrain, what you need to do next, and this is pretty tricky too, but you pretty much need to remove all the stuff that's going to be in the way. And you can see this one actually goes pretty far, so you need to get everything so it's all at the height of this floor, which that's going to be a lot of work. So I think the best thing for us to do is to remove all the slime behind these observers. So there's the 3 here like this, and the 2 here. And so then the reason that we're doing that is that way if any lava flows in front of this observer and updates it, it won't break the machine at all. So now we can start removing this wall. We'll start off by just removing the perimeter, and we only need to remove that much of it. And then for the wall, I'm going to build a trough like this so the lava doesn't come and flood us. And then I'm just going to dig out all these blocks all the way down to the floor and just do that for each one. So all those blocks of obstruction have been moved and the machine is pretty much ready to go. We just need to go back and place in our slime. So there was the 1, 2, and 3 on this side, and on this side we had the 2 like this. And so everything should be ready to go to fly, and we could finally test out our machine. So all you need to do is place any block up on top of this one observer. Here we go. No, I forgot the 2 cobblestone. No. Well, to stop the machine, by the way, you just place blocks in front of here. It works a lot better if you use an immovable block. Well, here's the 2 blocks I forgot. Make sure you add those in. And I got rid of those blocks in front, so let's relaunch this. And now it should be working much better. That lava should slowly disappear. Well, there it is, actually working properly now. I can't believe how dumb I was leaving that out. But this thing, when it actually works, is pretty awesome. And here's what it looks like up on top. You can see the machine flying across. And it's just going to keep going until it runs into anything. Wonder if it's going to get... No, yeah, that's fine. So I'll just let this thing go as far as it can, and we'll see where it ends up. And there it goes. So we got a pretty good tunnel there. That goes a decent distance. Oh, and that looks so crazy. And by the way, you could try to stop this without it just crashing. And one other thing to point out is most of these materials on this thing are going to be pretty hard to get back just because of how much lava there is everywhere. And honestly, I don't know if I would spend the time building this in a survival world, but the tunnel it creates is pretty epic. So that's it for this video, and this machine was suggested by this bro. And if you have anything you want me to build, just let me know down in the comments. But thank you for watching. If you want to check out some other Basalt building flying machines that are a lot easier to create than this one, I have some other videos on how to build those ones. But yeah, thanks, I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye. So we pretty much... So we pretty much...